Hello. Today we're talking about combinations and permutations. Permutations is a way of finding how many different options do you have when the order matters. And that's the big thing I want you to know, that permutation, order matters. Okay, so here's the formula. And they call it n choose r equals the n factorial over n minus r factorial. So here's what we're going to use this for. So say figure skating. There are 10 finalists in a figure skating competition. How many ways can gold, silver, and bronze medals be awarded? Well, I can write this with the letters. I have 10 to choose from, so my little n is going to be a 10. Because order matters, I'm going to make a permutation, and I'm only going to choose 3 of them. So n is the number you have to pick from. 3 is the number that we're going to pick. How many are we going to pick, and how many do we have to pick from? Okay, so put this into the formula. We're going to go 10 factorial over parentheses 10 minus 3 factorial. When we simplify this, we'll get a 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And then 10 minus 3 is 7 factorial, so that's going to be a 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So when I'm looking at this and I want to simplify it, do you notice how a 7 on top cancels a 7 on the bottom, a 6 on top cancels 6 on the bottom? Same with the 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, 1s. The whole thing cancels out that whole thing. And all that's left to multiply together is 10 times 9 times 8. Another way you can look at this is say, okay, if I have 10 to pick from, my first choice, once I pick one, I'll have 9 left to pick from, and then last, for the bronze medal, I'll only have 8 left to pick from because I picked my gold and my silver already. So that's the formula, and that's how we solve these things. Okay? Again, I can't stress enough, order matters. Now, you'll also see problems that say, how many different ways can the letters of the word Mississippi be arranged? Well, it's still kind of the same thing. In fact, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 letters in the word Mississippi. So you could call this a permutation problem. However, we're choosing all 11. So if I wanted to write this as 11 permutation of 11, that's going to equal 11 factorial over 11 minus 11 factorial, which we'll have 11 times 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And then 11 minus 11 is 0 factorial, and 0 factorial actually equals 1. So this whole thing equals a 1. So dividing that by a 1 really doesn't do much, dividing it by 1. Okay, so that's our n factorial, because we're going to use every single letter. We're just going to arrange them. Again, order matters. But the problem with Mississippi is if I have this I and this last one over here, which is a blue I, and I switch them, technically that is one of the options for rearranging the letters. But it's going to spell the same exact word, and if I use black letters, I won't be able to tell. So when there's repetitions, we need to divide out those repetitions. There's also, how many I's do we have? We've got 4 of them, it looks like. So what we're going to do is after we figure out 11 factorial, we're going to divide out, okay, I's. I's, there are 4 of them, so we're going to divide out a 4 factorial. S's. S's, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so there's another 4 factorial I'm going to pull out for the S's. And then last, we do have some repeating digits. We have some p's up here. So I have 2 p's. So I'm going to divide out 2 for the p's. Then we'll divide. Now to make it easier on yourself, remember, we can simplify this black 4 factorial as a 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So this cancels out that one. The red one is going to be a 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And the blue, or the green, is going to be a 2 times 1. So you can say a 6 and a 2, or a 3 times 2 is a 6, so you can cross out the 6. You can say a 4 times 2 is an 8, cancel out the 8 up on top. And all you have to do now, dividing by 1 doesn't do anything, so now it's just type into your calculator 11 times 10 times 9, 8 canceled out, times 7, 6 canceled out, times 5, and the 4, 3, 2, 1 canceled out. That's a little bit simpler to type into your calculator. And so to find our answer, we'll just go 11 times 10 times 9 times 7 times 5. And our final answer is 34,650 ways. Okay, lots of different ways to rearrange the word Mississippi. Okay, combinations. Now, combinations are permutations, but you're dividing out the options that have the same elements, but in a different order. In other words, if I have a BLT, and I put bacon on the sandwich first, then I put lettuce, and then I put tomatoes, well, what if somebody else went lettuce, then the bacon in the middle, and then tomatoes? Might seem a little different, but it's still, we consider this the same sandwich. I could also put tomatoes first, then the lettuce, then the bacon. I could put all kinds of different options. So the formula n choose r of combinations equals n factorial divided by n minus r factorial, which that part looks a lot like the permutation formula. And then we're going to divide out the r factorial again. And so the r factorial, gets out all those same different options of your BLT. That's the same sandwich. So looking at this, the principal at Cobb County High School wants to start a mentoring group. He needs to narrow his choice of students to be mentored to 6 from a group of 9. How many ways of the group can he be selected? So what we're going to do is we have 9 to pick from. We want how many combinations of 6 of them. We're going to choose 6 of them. And it doesn't matter which get picked first, which gets picked second. All that matters is that who ends up in the final group of 6. So order doesn't matter with combinations. So follow your formula. We have 9 to pick from, so that's a 9 factorial divided by, parentheses, 9 minus 6 factorial, and then 6, another 6 factorial to divide out the repeats of the same group, just in a different order. So let's simplify. 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 divided by, and 9 minus 6 factorial is 3 factorial. So I'm just going to write 3 times 2 times 1, and then times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So when you start to simplify, notice we got a 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 1. That cancels out with that 6 through 1. I can divide out the 3 with the 9. That leaves me a 3 on top. 8 divided by 2 is a 4. And my final answer is just going to be 3 times 4 times 7. That's all that's left, equals we'll go 3 times 4 times 7 equals 84 different ways the group can be selected. Good luck. Hope this helps.